Love doesn't always end with closure. Sometimes it ends with silence, sometimes with betrayal, and sometimes with a truth you were never meant to find. This is Breakup Diaries. Stories about what really happens after love ends. The door wasn't supposed to be unlocked. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Marcus was always careful, always precise. The kind of man who double-checked everything, locks, schedules, words. So when the handle turned easily under my hand, a quiet unease settled in my chest before I even stepped inside. "Marcus," I called out softly, pushing the door open. No answer. The apartment was still, almost too still, like it was holding its breath. The faint scent of his cologne lingered in the air, familiar and comforting, but something about it felt off. I stepped in, closing the door behind me. My eyes adjusted quickly, scanning the living room. Everything looked normal at first glance. The couch, the coffee table, the neatly arranged books, nothing out of place. Until I heard movement. A soft sound. Not from the hallway. Not from outside. From inside the apartment. My heart skipped. I turned slowly toward the kitchen, and that's when I saw her. She stood there, frozen mid-motion, like she hadn't expected to see anyone either, a glass in her hand, eyes locked onto mine. For a second, neither of us spoke. We just stared. Trying to understand. Trying to place each other in a story that suddenly didn't make sense anymore. "Hi," she said carefully, her voice uncertain but controlled. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. "Hi." The silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. My mind raced. Who was she? Why was she here? And more importantly, why did she look so familiar in this space? Not like a guest, not like someone visiting for the first time. Like someone who belonged. "I think you might have the wrong apartment," she added, her tone polite, but there was something else beneath it, something guarded. I almost laughed, almost. "No," I said slowly, gripping my keys a little tighter. "I don't think I do." Her expression shifted, just slightly, enough to notice. Enough to feel it. Something wasn't right. And then she said the one thing that made my stomach drop. "Oh, wait." She hesitated, eyes narrowing just a little. "You have a key too. If you think walking into his apartment and finding another woman was the worst part, it was. The worst part was how normal she looked standing there. Not nervous. Not guilty. Just confused, like me. You have a key too," she repeated, her voice softer this time but sharper underneath. I didn't answer immediately. My fingers tightened around the small metal key in my hand, suddenly feeling heavier than it should. "Yeah," I said finally. "Marcus gave it to me." The moment the words left my mouth, I saw it, the shift in her expression. Not shock, not disbelief, something quieter, something sinking. "Right," she said slowly. "He gave me one too." Silence fell again, thicker this time. We stood there, two strangers in the same space, holding the same kind of access to the same man, and neither of us understanding why. I glanced around the apartment again, but this time, everything looked different. There was a jacket draped over the chair, one I had never seen before. A pair of shoes near the door that weren't mine. A coffee mug on the counter, not the one Marcus usually used. How long have you been here? I asked carefully. She hesitated. A few hours, I let myself in. That answer landed heavier than it should have. I nodded slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. Yeah, I've done that before too. Her eyes met mine again, searching, measuring. Are you his friend? She asked. The question felt loaded. I almost said yes, almost kept things simple, but something in me pushed back. No, I said quietly, I'm his girlfriend. The word hung in the air between us. And just like that, everything changed. She didn't react immediately. No sudden gasp, no dramatic movement, just a slow blink and then a small, disbelieving exhale. That's not possible, she said. But her voice didn't sound certain. Not at all. Why not? I asked. She looked around the apartment, then back at me, her expression tightening. Because, she paused, swallowing slightly. I am too. My heart dropped, but not all at once. Slowly. Like something sinking beneath the surface. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was something much worse. Two people can't both be the truth, unless someone is lying. And standing there in that apartment, staring at each other, I realized we weren't dealing with confusion anymore. We were standing inside a lie. Neither of us spoke at first. The weight of what she said, I am too, still echoed between us, settling into every corner of the room. I shook my head slightly, trying to ground myself. How long? I asked. She hesitated, like she wasn't sure she wanted to answer. A year, she said finally. A year. My stomach tightened. That's not possible. But even as I said it, I knew it was. Why not? She asked quietly. Because we've been together for 8 months. Now it was her turn to go still. 8 months. The numbers didn't cancel each other out. They overlapped, perfectly. Too perfectly. We both looked away at the same time, each of us trying to process something that didn't make sense, but somehow explained everything. Okay, she said slowly, as if thinking out loud. Then maybe we're just confused about what this is. Were you here last weekend? I asked suddenly. She blinked. Yeah, he said he had plans Saturday night, but Sunday we spent the whole day here. My chest tightened. A Saturday night. That was the night he took me out to dinner. The same restaurant. The same table. The same words. He told me he loved me that night, I said quietly. And she froze. He told me that Sunday morning. The room felt smaller. Like the walls were closing in on us, forcing the truth into focus. We weren't separate parts of his life. We were the same part, repeated. The same routines. The same gestures. Same carefully constructed moments. Wait, she said suddenly, walking toward the bookshelf. Did he ever take you to that place by the water, the one with the lights? I nodded slowly. Yeah. She let out a quiet, broken laugh. He took me there too. That was the moment it clicked, fully, completely. This wasn't overlap by accident. This was design. Every detail, every memory, every promise. Planned. And just as that realization settled in, the sound of keys turning at the door echoed through the apartment. We both turned, and everything inside me went still. The sound of the door opening stopped everything. It was Marcus. Neither of us moved. The apartment felt impossibly small now, every corner holding the weight of secrets we were only just beginning to see. He froze the moment he saw us. One glance and it was obvious he hadn't expected this. Not both of us, not here. Hey, he started, voice cautious, unsure. I didn't answer. Natalie didn't answer. We just watched him, eyes wide, heartbeats loud. What's going on?" he asked finally, forcing a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. I swallowed hard. "What's going on, you tell me." Marcus shifted uncomfortably, looking between us like he was calculating, bargaining, searching for a way out. It's not what it looks like," he began. I let out a short, incredulous laugh. Really, because it looks exactly like what it is. Natalie's voice was quiet but steady. I thought I was the only one. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, paused. The tension was electric. You both, he finally said. You're here at the same time. We nodded. And that's when the calm shattered. I took a step closer. Yes, and you're going to explain. He looked down, then back at us. I can explain. Do it. My voice was sharper than I intended. He ran a hand through his hair, desperation creeping in. It's complicated, I didn't. I cut him off. Complicated, you lied to us, to both of us, every day, every week. Every little thing you said was carefully chosen. Natalie's eyes flared, her anger barely restrained. Why? Marcus faltered. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I thought I could manage it. Manage it, I whispered, disbelief curling in my chest. Oh, yes. The room felt heavier. The truth was settling in, but something still hung in the air. The real question wasn't what he thought he could manage. It was, how far did this go? And then Marcus looked at us both, eyes darting between us, voice low. You don't know everything yet. The silence that followed said more than any words could. And in that silence, we realized the worst was still coming. Marcus' explanation started slowly, like he was testing us with each word. I scheduled it, he admitted, almost too quietly. I kept track of when you were here, and I thought I could handle it all. I never meant. Handle what? Natalie snapped. Handle us or yourself. The room crackled with tension. Every word was a knife twisting deeper. I wanted it all, Marcus said, voice shaking. I didn't want to lose either of you. I stepped forward. Lose us, you don't get to claim that. You lied to us, you planned this. You built a life that wasn't real for either of us. Natalie's face paled, anger flashing through her eyes. All this time, everything we believed was just part of your schedule. Marcus swallowed hard, unable to meet either of our eyes. I thought I could keep it separate. I thought no one would ever find out. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Separate, you were living a double life in plain sight. The anger rose, hot and uncontainable. not at each other, but at him, at the person we thought we knew. Natalie's voice was tight. Do you even know what you've done? How much damage this is? Marcus shook his head, silent. We looked at each other then, and something shifted. No pity, no denial, just clarity. This wasn't a fight between us. It wasn't about jealousy. It was about reality. About seeing him clearly for the first time. And realizing we didn't need him to define us. My hands shook as I finally said it out loud. We're done, both of us. Natalie nodded, almost in relief. Good, finally. Marcus' lips parted, words trapped in his throat. Wait, please, I turned, ignoring him. He would never control this moment again. The apartment, once familiar and safe, now felt like a cage, and we were finally walking out. But even as we left, a quiet question lingered in my mind. How long had I been living a life I thought was mine, when it was never truly real? And somewhere deep down, I knew the answer would haunt me longer than this night ever could. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet. Every step I took felt heavier than the last, not from exhaustion, but from the weight of everything I'd just realized. Marcus' apartment faded behind me, every detail once familiar now foreign. The life I thought I had was gone, but not stolen. I had given him trust, and he had squandered it. Natalie was beside me, her expression unreadable, but I knew she felt it too, the sting of betrayal, the fire of clarity. We didn't speak. Words were useless. We had said everything already. Outside, the night air hit my face, sharp and electric. I breathed it in like a lifeline, letting it wake me from the fog of disbelief. For the first time, I understood something I hadn't seen before. The power wasn't in confronting him. It was in leaving, walking away, taking back the life he tried to manipulate. I glanced at Natalie. She gave the smallest nod, almost imperceptible. Agreement without words. Liberation shared silently. Somewhere behind us, the apartment door closed. The sound was final, definitive, a punctuation mark at the end of the chapter he had written, and the beginning of the one we would write for ourselves. I didn't look back. Not because I wasn't tempted, but because I knew looking back would only tether me to a lie. For hours, the questions swirled in my mind, and yet, one question refused to settle. How long had this been going on before either of us noticed? Even now, I didn't have the answer, and maybe I never would. But that was okay. What mattered was the truth I could see now. I was stronger, wiser, free. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: certainty. Somewhere in the distance, city lights flickered against the horizon, indifferent to our small, personal revolution, but perfect in their reminder that the world kept turning. Life wouldn't stop for Marcus. Life wouldn't stop for the lies. But it would continue for me. And that was more than enough. As I walked away into the cool night, I couldn't help but wonder, had I only just discovered his deception, or were there other truths still waiting, hidden in the shadows? I didn't need to know the answer right now. Because for the first time, I understood. My story didn't depend on him anymore. And maybe, just maybe, the next story wasn't about him at all.